Okay, so welcome everyone to UGBS 703 Advanced Quantitative Methods and the continuation of our session on structural equation modeling using SPSS and Amos, right? And we are picking up from where we left off in our last session, where we ended with a good fitting model. And we were able to get our model fit indices to fall within the accepted thresholds, right? So we had a good fitting chi-square degrees of freedom ratio, a good fitting IFI, TLI, and CFI, as well as a good fitting RMSCA, right? So now that we have done that, we move on to the next level, which involves assessing higher order constructs for reliability, as well as determining construct validity. Sorry, convergent validity. So these are the two main things we are going to start with today. We will first go ahead and determine higher order measures of reliability, which in this case refer to the composite reliability or the CR value, and then the AVE value, which is the average variance extracted. And then we will go ahead and also test for convergent validity, which is also tested for using these two main constructs that I have just mentioned, right? So we are going to learn how to compute the composite reliability and the average variance extracted, which is the AVE. So very quickly, let's go to the output, right? The window where I am, let's go straight to estimates. You see what I just clicked on? Okay, yes. Hold on. Now, have you been able to find the output from our last analysis that we did during the previous session last week, Monday? Have you located it? Hello?
Yes, please, located it.
Okay, so have you opened it? You should open it and then get to this place where I am, where we can find the estimates.
Oh.
Hello?
Madam, please, can you come again?
Hi.
I was asking if you've been able to locate the output window from where we stopped off in our analysis last week. If you've not been able to locate it, just simply go back to the CFA model and then rerun it. So this is the CFA model. Please, can you see it? Hello?
Hi.
What is happening? Today, everybody is quiet. Is it that you are lost?
Please, how do we get to the model again?
Dog, we are lost, you.
So where is the folder where you kept the data set that we used last week? Where's that folder? When we drew the model, you saved it in a particular folder. Do you remember? When we clicked File, Save As, where did you save it?
Doc.
Yes.
Doc. What happened was some of us could not follow to even get to this stage.
You know, we're not having the plugins and stuff like that.
Are you serious?
So we're not.
So those who said they did not get to where we were, so that means that you do not have the CFA model that I taught you how to build. Is that true or false?
True for me in my case. True.
So you didn't even practice to build up to the point where we got to, ladies and gentlemen, because it's like what you are saying will send us back to last week's lecture.
That will give us a better understanding, Doc. To make our foundation stronger.
Wow.
Better still, you can just continue, pick the videos and watch again.
Okay, so let's put it to a vote. Right? Should we go back and run through it quickly so that you can get the model that we need to continue from where we stopped?
Yes.
Yes, please, Doc.
The eyes have it.
Yeah, I'll suggest that we use the plugins.
If I teach you using the plugins alone and you get to your position where you do not have access to the plugins, how will you be able to compute? So if you notice, my book does not contain the plugins.
Last week you taught us to get a plugin, so by now everybody should kind of have it.
Yeah, but technically, yeah, for the revision we are going to do right now, we'll do it using the plugins. But moving forward, I can't just teach you using the plugins. I have to teach you both. So that in case you find yourself in a position where a plugin is not working, because the plugins are not foolproof all the time. Let me emphasize that, right? Sometimes they mess up. So if the plugins are not working, wow, okay. So if the plugins are not working, we need to be able to have an alternative, okay? So we'll quickly go back and then use the plugins to do the revision very quickly, and then we can proceed. All right, so starting from scratch, by popular demand, I'm going to, this one is not request, so this is demand. You didn't request, you said we should go back. You didn't request, you said we should go back, otherwise you will not be able to move forward. So this one is by popular demand. Okay. So you remember the model that we are using, right? Hello?
Hi.
Okay, so I'm starting, right? All right, so we began our journey in SPSS with our data set. And we started with a data set that had the labels written in full sentences. And we learned that when it comes to Amos, you cannot use the data set in its raw form with the labels intact, because Amos will be able to only interpret the label column to be able to name all the observed variables. So if you do not switch the items in the label column to reflect the actual names of the measurement items you are using, Amos will only read the labels and you will not see the actual codes for the measurement items. So we proceeded to create a clone of the data set where we changed the labels to be the code names that we have given to all the individual measurement items, right? And then we saved that. Now, after we did that, we went ahead to extract the pattern matrix, which we sent to Amos to build our base model that we were going to use to perform the confirmatory factor analysis. So we are currently going to extract the pattern matrix from SPSS. Okay, patients, very well noted, and welcome back. All right, so we are going to extract the pattern matrix model now.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So what was the process? We said we go to analyze, dimension reduction, factor, right? Because we're going to run essentially a factor analysis. And then we're going to put all the observed variables into the variables box by clicking on the first one, holding down the shift key, and clicking on the last one, right? And then we put them all in the variables box. And then under descriptives, we go and click KMO, significance levels, right? And then coefficients. Then we click continue. Then on the extraction, we do the maximum likelihood extraction, given that that is the process that Amos uses for its computations. Then we click continue, right? Then under rotation, we go for ProMax, which is likely to give us the highest estimates, right? Or the best extraction possible after the rotation has taken place to give us the best set of items that represent the constructs that we are trying to measure. So we select ProMax and then we click continue. Under scores, we do not necessarily need anything from there, so we do not check anything. Same for options. We could choose to suppress the small coefficients, but given that we are exporting the pattern matrix to Amos to create the CFA model, we do not need to select anything here. So we click continue, and then we go ahead and click OK. Now, as soon as we do that, the output table comes up. Please, I hope you can see the output box.
Yes. Yes, please.
Yes, Doc.
Good. So
Yes,
the
Doc.
So the output box here shows us the output from the factor analysis that we just ran, right? And this window, right, or box as I referred to it earlier, in the left corner gives a list of items starting from the log to the factor analysis, the title, the notes, all the way down to factor correlation. Now here we are looking for the label pattern matrix, right, which is the third from the bottom. So when we see that, we click on it and it will immediately show us the pattern matrix in the left side of the window, right, with a red arrow pointing to it. Now we right click on this and we copy it. So once we copy that, we have copied the pattern matrix. And then now we have to go back into Amos and then use the pattern matrix model builder to create the measurement model that we will use in running the confirmatory factor analysis. So here we are going into Amos. So we are in Amos now, and because you're starting over, I'm going to create a fresh sheet. All right. Now here we are in the Amos window. Can we see that? So I have a blank sheet. Do we see that?
Yes, Doc.
Yes, please.
Please, I hope everyone is following, because
Yes.
I'm not going back again.
Yes.
Okay.
But you are moving too fast.
Because I've already taught it last week. And there's something totally different we are supposed to be doing today. So if I go as slow as I went last week, we will end up repeating last week's lecture. So unfortunately, I have to go fast on this portion.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for understanding.
Yes,
All right,
Doc.
so before we can be able to use the pattern matrix model builder to build the CFA model, we need to be able to import the data sets that we are using so that Amos can be able to identify the items in that data set and use that information to build the CFA model for us. So we are going to go to, is it what did I call it? I called it the Lotto paper, with the Lotto numbers. When you hover over it, it says select data file, right? So you click on that and it opens a window which says data files. Now this window, when we look at it, we see group number 1 at the top in the white portion with working in some brackets, right? We double click on that and it will open another window in which we have to go and search for the data set that we will be using in Amos. Now remember that we had the original data set that had all the labels intact, written in sentence form. Now we created a clone of that, which has the labels replaced by the code names for all the variables. That is the one we are going to import into Amos. So we are going to click on the clone and import it. Now the moment you click on it, it shows in the white window and shows you group number 1, the name of the data set, and it tells you the total number of valid items in it, right? So the number of valid items in this particular data set is 221 out of 221. So meaning that there is no missing data. So with that, we click OK. And then the data is now imported into Amos. So whatever command we give Amos, it is going to act on that command based on the data sets that we have imported. So now that we have imported the data set, we are going to go ahead and use the pattern matrix that we copied to create the CFA model that we are going to use to run the confirmatory factor analysis, right? So we go to plugins, and then we select pattern matrix model builder. Please, are we there?
Yeah.
Now we have already copied the pattern matrix, right? So we just right click anywhere in the white box, and then we click paste, and it will immediately paste the pattern matrix there. Do we see that?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, Doc.
Then we click create diagram. And then we watch Amos do its thing. We give it some time, right? So as soon as we do that, it will create the diagram beautifully. Do we see that?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Good. Now, once the diagram has been created, we have to name the unobserved variables, because currently all the unobserved variables have been labeled using just numbers. So we have to name them actually to be able to identify what they are in the model. So we start from 1, right? So 1 is security and privacy. So we double click in that space, and then the object properties box will open. Then in the variable name section, we put in the name of that particular unobserved variable. So here it's security and privacy. So I will write SECPRI. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Then I just close it, right? Then I do the same for all the others. Please, do we see that? So I have renamed all the unobserved variables. So they are no longer just numbers. Please, can we see that?
Yes, please.
So once you do that, you have to be able to save this particular measurement model, right? So you need to save the model, close it, and reopen so that Amos can be able to digest, if you may, what you have given it before you start giving it additional commands. So we go to File, we click Save As, and then we name it. So I will name it Repeat CFA Demo, right? Then I save it. After you save it, you close it, you go back to that folder, and you go and reopen it. So you need to remember where you saved it so that you can go back and reopen it.
Doug, your screen has gone off on my end.
Yes, I'm going to reshare.
Okay.
All right. So here goes. There we go. Okay. Please, do we see it?
Yes.
So I have reopened it, right? So now that we have reopened it, we can run some analysis on it to see if the model is good fitting and all the factor loadings are as they should be, right? So we go to the keyboard with the numbered, with the different colored boxes on it. Please, do we see that? When you hover over it, it says analysis properties, right?
Yes.
You click on that and then the analysis properties window would open. And you realize that the first window you are presented with already has some pre-checked items. So you leave it alone, right? Then you go to output, and in output, we have to select a number of things, starting from standardized estimates, squared multiple correlations, or what others will refer to as the R-squared. Then we do modification indices, which is very important to help us in our model pruning and modification. Then we click on covariances of estimates and then correlations of estimates, right? Someone would want to add factor score weights, right? And then we close it. Then after that, we go back and click the clean keyboard that is next to the one that we just used. And when you hover over that one, you'll see that it says calculate estimates. So when you click on calculate estimates, you see that Amos will start running stuff, right? Then once it is done, you realize that the red arrow next to the gray arrow up here becomes activated, which means that the analysis has actually been run. So when you click on the red arrow, you see that the values will be displayed next to the items in the model. Now, this is a bit much for us to read, so we will leave this alone and go into the actual outputs of the analysis, right? So that is in the lottery paper, right? The lotto paper, that paper that has items written on it. Directly below the analysis properties tab. The analysis properties tab is the keyboard with the different colored squares on it. Okay, so once the output window opens, we go to estimates and we start doing a quick run through, right? And we start by looking at the regression weights. And the regression weights here indicates the table that shows us the CR value, right? Which is also known as the T values. And then the P values of these T values, right? So given that we are running two-tailed tests, the CR value must always be greater than 1.96, I believe so. Let me just confirm, right? It should always be greater than 1.96.
Yeah, 1.96.
Yeah. If it was one-tailed test, it would have to be greater than 1.67. But because it is a two-tailed test, it has to be greater than 1.96. So any CR value that is greater than 1.96 or 1.96 and above should be significant. And here we can see that all the CR values are significantly larger than 1.96, right? The lowest value here is around 13 point something.
12.03.
Where? 12.03, good,
Yeah.
right? And they are all significant with 3 stars, meaning what? When we say a p-value is a 3-star level p-value, what does it mean? It means p is less than or equal to what?
0.01.
Good. Are you sure? No.
0.001. That's 0.1%.
0.1%.
Which is?
0.001.
Good, right? So here we can see that they are really significant. So from the regression weights table, we don't have much of a problem. Now moving down to the standardized regression weights table, here we are looking at the factor loadings, right? For each of the observed variables on the unobserved variables. And here we are looking for values that are 0.5 and above. So any value that is less than 0.5 must be deleted. Okay, so let's look through. Is there any value less than 0.5?
No.
No. So that means that in terms of our standardized regression weights as well, everything is okay. So given that everything there is okay, our next point of call is the model fit indices, right? So we go to the column where we found the estimates and go and click on model fit. And as soon as we click on it, the model fit indices page will open. And here the model fit summary starts from the presentation of the chi-square table all the way down to the Holter table, right? And here the most interesting of these tables to us, right? The tables that are of most importance to us is the chi-square or the C-main table, the baseline comparisons table, and then the RMSEA or the root mean squared error of approximation table. So we'll start from the chi-square. Now bear in mind that any change that you make affects all these model fit indices. And that is why we talked about the fact that you need to make one change at a time so that you can track its effect on the ultimate outputs that you get in terms of model fit. And here we can see that the model fit is not falling within the acceptable threshold. True or false?
True.
What should the chi-square degrees of freedom ratio be for it to be accepted?
Between 2 to 3.
Good. And currently what we have is what? 3.6. That's way too large, right? Similarly, let's look at our baseline comparisons. The IFI and the TLI and the CFI, right? Per Schreiber 2008 should be less than or equal to 0.95, but currently they are not even up to 0.9. So here we have a serious problem. So we need to go and prune and modify our model to ensure that it can have a good fit with the data sets that we are using. So we go here to modification indices, right? Which is somewhere in between estimates and model fit. And when you click on it, a table comes that is labeled modification indices, covariances. And here we are looking to eliminate from the highest modification index, right? In the column labeled MI. So you look through to see the largest one, and it shows you the path at which that largest one can be observed. And then you can go back to the graphic version of the model and eliminate that path in the hopes of improving your model fit. So here, what is the largest modification index we can see? I see a 63.666.
36.
63
Yes.
is the largest.
Yeah.
63, okay, yes.
Good. And it's between
63.
E23 and E24, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So which one do we eliminate? Bear in mind that you need to look at the two of them, and of the two, eliminate the biggest troublemaker.
E23.
It seems they are actually at par with each other in terms of causing trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that.
So let's do E23 then.
Yes.
So we go back to the model and we eliminate E23, just E23. And then we rerun the model. Which gives us a new set of outputs. So we go back and look at our model fit. It has become better, right? It's now 3.44, but it's still not there. So we go back to modification indices and we look for the next largest modification index. From what I can see here, the next largest one is a 36. 36.89 between E12 and E15. I think I'm right. Yes, I am.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Yes.
And between E12
Yes,
and
yes,
E15, which one is a bigger troublemaker? One, two,
E12.
three, four.
E12.
E12.
Okay, so let's eliminate E12. So we go back to the model and we eliminate E12. Now bear in mind that E12 is linked to RI1, which is a marker variable. So once we have eliminated RI1, we have to replace RI1 with another marker variable. In this case, I am using RI2. Right, so we replaced it and now we run. After running, we do the same procedure again. We go and check the model fit to see if it got better. It got better, 3.24, but there's still quite a distance to go, right? So we go back to modification indices and we go and look for the biggest fish and we catch it. And here I can see two 33s. One is 33.2, the other is 33.4. So we delete the 33.4, right? Which is E15. Please, do we see that?
Yes.
I think there was a 36 down there. Could you please
Really? Okay, hold on.
I also said 36.
No, there's no 36. It's a 26.
36 rather.
Okay, there's a 36 here. Good,
36,
good observation. Yeah. So it's with what? E5, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so we eliminate E5. I'm glad you're following, right? So let's go and eliminate E5.
Frank, you did it though. Okay, come.
So we run it again. David, you said, how do you determine which of them is causing more trouble? Hence, it should be eliminated. So the one causing more trouble is the one that is showing a large number of modification indices, indicating its connection with other individual items, right? That is how we are able to determine. David, were you in class last week?
Yes, please, Doc.
So you forgot. Okay, so looking at the model fit, we are down to 2.9, right? But still, baseline comparisons are still not up to par. Likewise, our RMSEA is still at 0.09, but it should be 0.08 and below. Gabriel, are you seriously asking how you make something a marker variable? Can someone explain to Gabriel how you do that, like in 2 seconds, so that we can proceed?
I'm lost.
Yes, but assigning it a value of 1.
Thank you. So you double click on it and you assign the value of 1. Hey, until last week, work nina, mudi akoche bronin kati.
Yeah, sorry.
I hear. All right, so back to modification indices, right? Where is the biggest one so that we can eliminate it? I'm seeing a 34. Am I right? Yes. And it is between what? E16 and E17. So E16 is the troublemaker here, isn't it? Hello, we are going along together.
Yes.
Yes, Doc.
So we are doing E16. So E16 has got to go. If we're not going along together, I would have just done it quickly and moved on. All right. So again, E16 is connected to TD1, which is a marker variable. So we have eliminated it. We have to replace it. So we are replacing it with TD2, right? And then we run again. Then we go to the output. Estimates. Here we go. Modification indices. Good. What's the largest one so far? That's the 26, and it is E15. Please, do you see that? So E15 has got to go.
Yes.
So again, we eliminate E15. Then we run. Then we go back. To model fit. Okay, just a little more to go. RMSEA is still at 0.085, which is too high. So we still have to use modification indices to whittle things down. The next largest index I can see is 20.6, and that's E9.
Yeah.
So E9 will have to go. And we run. Then we go back and check the output again. And from the output, we can see model fit has come down to 2.5. Our TLI is yet to get to the threshold. RMSEA is 0.08, a very borderline, right? We can do from one more modification. So we go back to modification indices, and then we look at the largest, which here is E4, E6. So E4 here is the troublemaker. E4 has got to go. So we go to the graphical interface and we eliminate E4. Then we rerun. Now after running, we come back again and look at the model fit. And yes, now it looks good, doesn't it? Our chi-square degrees of freedom ratio is back. Please, can we see it?
Yes, Doc.
So our chi-square degrees of freedom ratio is now 2.2, isn't it?
Yes.
Then our baseline comparisons, the IFI, TLI, CFI have all crossed the 0.95 threshold. And then our RMSEA is now 0.07, right? So we did good. So we have been able to satisfy model fits. So now the next thing is to assess the next level of reliability, which has to do with the CR and AVE. CR being the composite reliability and AVE being the average variance extracted. Please, does it make sense?
Yes, please.
So now we go back to our interface. And I think we have chopped it up. So we have to put it into a good format. Everything looks messy, right? Presentation is everything. There. Okay, nice. Please, does it make sense?
Yes, please.
So I'm just using the tools we learned about to put the model into a better looking form. That's basically what I'm doing. Okay. So now that we have done that, the next thing we have to do is to go ahead and run for the CR and AVEs. Now, to be able to do that manually, there are two ways. You can do it in Excel using the Stats Tools package that I sent to you, or you can use a plugin. Right? Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Do you have the validity and reliability test plugin?
No. No, please.
We are in trouble. Then that means that we have to go through it manually. Okay. Now I sent you an Excel spreadsheet. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yes.
I need you to go and open that spreadsheet. It's called the Stats Tools package. Open it. Now, once you open it, because of the way it has been programmed, you will have to enable certain settings in Excel for it to work. Right? So this is the document I sent you. Just click enable content. You see, it says security warning, macros has been disabled. Please, can you see that?
Yes.
Click enable content. Are you there?
Yes.
Have you done that? Have you done that?
Yes, please.
Yes, we
Good.
have.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
please,
now,
which worksheets are we working on?
this is an Excel spreadsheet I sent to the class on WhatsApp, in addition to the data set.
Okay.
So in the spreadsheet, look at the bottom.
Of the sheets, there are so many sheets under that. So
Go to Validity Master. I was coming to that. So go to the first sheet, which is Validity Master, and click on it. Now make sure that while you are working in this spreadsheet, at no point in time should you save anything. Never click save. Otherwise, you destroy the entire macros that has been programmed into it and you cannot use it again. Clement, you have 3 versions of the plugin. How many in Quad did you install? Because there's one and the updated versions of it.
no, sorry, I'm taking it back. You said we should allow some things in Excel.
Yeah, as soon as you open it, it will tell you security, right? Macros has been disabled. Then you have to click enable content.
Well, I didn't get that.
So yours opened normally.
Yes.
Okay, then that's fine. So let's put it to the test. Let's put it to the test.
Okay.
If it doesn't run, I'll show you other things to enable for it to run.
All right, thank you.
So, okay, so when you click the validity master, you can see that it shows you a screen where it says what? Paste correlations table in A2 and then paste standardized regression weights table in F2. Do you see that?
Yes, please.
Good. Now we are going to do exactly that by going to the output tab in Amos. Right, so do you remember this output page over here? Do you see it? Please, if you don't respond, I cannot proceed.
Yes, please.
Yes, PC.
So this is the output tab, right? You go to estimates. Remember under estimates, that is where we had the tables for the standardized regression weights, right? And the correlations. So you go to estimates and then you scroll down. The first table you see is the regression weights, right? On the right-hand corner.
Yes.
Do you see that?
Yes, please.
Now the table under that is the standardized regression weights. Just put your mouse close enough to the table, right click and copy. Have you copied it? Have you been able to copy the standardized regression weights table?
Yes.
Good. Now go back to the Excel spreadsheets that we had, and then go and click in the shaded box under paste standardized regression weights table in F2, right? Click in the shaded box, right click, and then paste it there. Oh. Please hold on. Did I copy? This is interesting. My model is not pasting. Has anyone else been able to paste theirs?
Yes, dog.
You've been able to paste yours?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
All right. And there's an issue with mine. Hold on a bit. I don't know what's going on with mine, but it is not pasting. Okay, I've got it now. All right, so it's done, right? Then we do the same for the correlations table.
Madam, please, you're not seeing your screen.
Oh, sorry. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Good. So it's pasted, right? And I'm going to do the same for the correlations table. So I right-click the correlation table, the same as we did for the standardized regression weights. We copy that, and then we come and paste it the same way we pasted the standardized regression weights table. Oh my God, it's doing it again. Has anyone else been able to paste theirs?
I've been able to trace the first one.
Okay, so we are pasting the second one, which is the correlations table. Right? Please, can you see that?
I'm trying to copy it. It's not copying.
Yeah, keep trying. Like I said, this is software, right? Occasionally, it gets its own headaches.
Okay, so I've succeeded now.
Good. Please, has everyone else been able to paste?
Yes.
Good. Once you do that, you see that big red tab. Just click on it and watch the magic happen. What do you see?
There's no validity concern. Wow.
Woo! Yeah. So that means that you don't have issues with validity. That means your CR and your AVEs are all in line, right? So that means your higher order reliability is satisfied and your validity is satisfied. So the values here are the CR values for each of the items that you have. And the AVEs here are the AVE values for each of the items you have. Do you see that?
Yes.
Good. So you need to be able to copy this table and paste it in a Word document somewhere, because you are going to use it to build your psychometric properties table after you complete your confirmatory factor analysis. Please, does it make sense? Please, does it make sense?
Yes, please.
Yes.
So we copy it and we put it in a Word document. So I usually copy just this side, since that is what I need. So I copy that, I open a Word document, and I paste it in there. Please, do you see that? Please, can you see that?
Yes, Doc.
Good. So now we have been able to get our CR and AVE values, and we have been able to determine that there are no problems. Now, in the event that the data was not good, like I said, this is a very well collected data set, which I'm using for my own research. And if you have issues with CR and AVE, it means you cannot proceed to go ahead and test the Fornell and Lacker criterion for discriminant validity or the HTMT analysis for discriminant validity, because it means that convergent validity has not been satisfied. And remember from our discussion during the first session, we talked about the fact that convergent validity, right, is satisfied when what? What did we say about that one? What did we say about convergent validity? We said it is satisfied when what? The factor loadings are what? Greater than or equal to 0.5. Have we satisfied that? Hello?
Yes, we have.
We also said that the composite reliability or the CR values have to be greater than or equal to 0.7. Have we satisfied that as well?
Yes, please.
We also said that the AVEs must be greater than or equal to 0.5. Have we satisfied that?
Yes.
Yes,
Good.
Doc.
Good. So we can now go ahead and test for what? Divergent validity, right? Hey, sorry, discriminant validity. Why do I keep saying these odd words today? Sorry about that. So convergent validity has been satisfied. Now we are going into testing for discriminant validity. Please, does it make sense?
Yes.
So we said there are two ways to test for discriminant validity. We have the Fornell and Lacker criterion, and then the hetero-trait mono-trait ratio of correlations, right? So the Fornell and Lacker criterion is simple. For that one, we create a table, and then we take the AVE values that we got, and then we use the correlation values as well, and then we put them in a table. Are you there?
Yes.
Is there only one person? Ladies and gentlemen, if you do not respond, I will not be able to know where you are at to be able to know where to continue from. Hello?
Hello. Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Hey, doctor, we are following.
So we are going to test for discriminant validity. And there are two main techniques for doing this. We have the Fornell and Lacker criterion, and then we have the HTMT analysis. So we will start with the Fornell and Lacker criterion. With the Fornell and Lacker criterion, you compare the AVE values with the correlations between the items, right? So we are going to build a table in which we are going to slot the correlation values and the HTMT and the AVE values, sorry. So I'm building that table now. Please, can you see the screen?
Yes, please.
So we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 variables in our framework. So I'm going to build a table with 5 rows right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to add 5 columns to that. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yes,
Let's
please.
talk.
Good. Then I'm going to put the names of the variables in the first column, right? Starting from, sorry. So starting from 1, we have repurchase intention, right?
Yes.
What's the next variable?
Security and then privacy.
Security and privacy, good. And then the next one.
Timeliness of delivery.
Return handling. Timeliness of delivery, right? Then the next one.
Delivery condition.
And then the next one.
Other return handling.
Good. Great. So to be able to know the corresponding items for each of these constructs, we are going to put the same numbers 1 to 5 in the row above, right? So we'll do that here by labeling it the first column after this column 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Please, do we see that?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Good. Now, once we have done that, we can be able to see that we have corresponded the variables to the other variables, where we will be able to have slots where we can position the correlation coefficients between these variables as they share with each other, right? So where will we find the correlations? Do you remember when we got the output from our Amos? The correlation table that we copied and put in the Excel spreadsheet, do you remember?
Yes,
Yes, please.
That is where we are going to get the correlations from. So I'm going back to copy that same table over here, right? I'm copying it and I'm going to paste it here. And then I'll transfer the correlations from that table into this table, right? So I'm going to move a little fast with this. What was that? Please, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, wow. Okay, so we are going to copy the correlations from this table into the table that we have created, right?
Yeah.
Good. So I'm going to start. So I'll be mentioning it as I type. I'll be going a bit fast, so please try and keep up. So we have security and privacy to order return, right? Order return is 5. So security and privacy is 2. So 2 to 5 is what? 0.725. And then security and privacy again to repurchase intention. So that will be 2 to 1, 0.592. So that'll be here. Now here, the idea is to keep everything below the diagonal, right? So this is the diagonal.
Hello, Doc.
Yes.
Please, we are seeing your Amos output instead of the Excel.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Rose.
So what I'm sharing here is Word. Please, is that okay?
Yes, no.
Good. So we are trying to keep everything below the diagonal because we'll be putting something else in the diagonal. So here we've transferred the correlation between security and privacy and order return. That's here, right? Then we've done security and privacy and repurchase intention. That's here. So now we are doing security and privacy and timeliness of delivery. So 2 to 3, right? Which will be here. 0.704. Then we are doing security and privacy to delivery condition. So 2 to 4, which will be here. Again, another 0.704. Then we'll be doing order return to repurchase intention, right? So 5 to 1, which will be here. 0.559, right? Then we'll be doing order return to timeliness of delivery, which is 5 to what? 3. So that will be here. 0.552. Please, are you following?
Yes, please. Yes,
Then we are doing order return to
yes.
delivery condition, which is 5 to 4. So 5 here to 4, which is 0.532. Then we are doing repurchase intention to timeliness of delivery. So that is 1 to 3. So that will be here, 0.477, right? Then we are doing repurchase intention to delivery condition, which is here. That'll be 0.667. Then we are doing timeliness of delivery to delivery condition, which is 3 to 4, which will be here, 0.735. So can you see that we have filled the entire bottom part of the diagonal? Do you see that?
Yes.
Good. So these are our interconstruct correlations. Are we there?
Yes.
Now we go back to the AVEs that we collected earlier. Do you see the AVEs up there? You see them?
Yes, please.
And now we are going to transfer them into the diagonal that we have created. Is that okay?
Yes.
Good. So let's start. Timeliness of delivery is what? So you mentioned them and I put them in. Timeliness of delivery is what?
0.7. 0.746.
746. Good. Then repurchase intention.
0.918.
Then security and privacy.
0.777.
0. What?
777.
Are you sure?
Where is the one coming from?
That's what I have.
0.761.
0.761. Yes. What did you do to your spreadsheet?
Nothing. That's what I have.
Then delivery condition. 0.746, right? Then the final one, order return handling. 0.700, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is the Fornell and Laka rule? What does the Fornell and Laka rule say?
No.
What does the Fornell and Laka rule say, ladies and gentlemen? To satisfy discriminant validity using Fornell and Laka's rule, what conditions must you satisfy?
I think it says that the numbers below the diagonal shouldn't be more than the numbers on the diagonal.
You have left a key piece of information out. Very key piece of information you left out. Can someone include it?
I think the square root of the correlation should not be more than the AVE.
Nope, it's the other way around. So the correlation, the interconstruct correlation should not be more than the square root of the AVE. Or the square of the correlation should not be more than the AVE. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Hello?
Hello.
Are we confused? Are we confused? Are we confused?
Not really.
We'll catch up.
I really need to get a sense of where we are all. Are we all on the same page? Or some people are still lost? Because it's in the slides that I gave you.
But I
Are
don't
you
think
there?
I'm lost. Yes, we'll revise it.
Okay, so
So,
moving on.
so it means you have learned and you want to revise.
I'm really surprised.
Wow.
Okay, so we are moving on. So that means that we need to find the square root of all these figures, right? And then we'll compare them against the interconstruct correlations to see if they are higher than the interconstruct correlations or there's a problem, right? But technically, given that when we tested in the Excel spreadsheet, it told us that there were no validity concerns, it means that the discriminant validity too will be perfect, right? Portia, your hand is up. Please go ahead. Okay, it was a mistake. All right. So we are going to find the square root of each of these figures, right? So starting from 0.917, please help with the computation if you can. The square root of 0.917 is what?
On the calculator.
0.840. 0.841.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Okay, let me take it again.
0.9576.
Good, right? So let's do 0. To 3 decimal places. 0.95 what?
8.
8, good. The next one.
0.872.
Good. And then the next one.
Please, is the square root of
0.8637.
Yeah, we are doing square roots.
0.86.
Okay, 0.864.
Good. Let's do the next one.
0.864 again.
Good, the same thing. Then the last one.
0.837.
Good. So now let's apply Funnel and Lacquer. Are the square roots of the AVEs greater than the interconstruct correlations?
Yes, they are.
Are they?
Yes, they are.
Good. So does that mean we have satisfied discriminant validity?
Yes.
Yes, we have.
It's as simple as that. Right? Now we mentioned that you can either use the Funnel and Lacquer criterion or the HTMT analysis. Right? A number of you said you don't have the validity and reliability test plugin.
I have it.
Please, those who have, can you show by hand? Those who have the validity and reliability test plugin, please show by hand. Okay, only 3 people. All right. So technically, with the validity and reliability test plugin, all this is very simple, right? You just go to your interface and then you open the plugin and you run it, and then it will give you all these pre-tested. So it will give you the table with the AVEs, the square roots already calculated, and then it will give you the correlations, and you can just copy the table and paste it in any document and use it. Now, depending on the version of the plugin that you have, it will also have a built-in HTMT analysis test. Grace, your hand is up.
Yes, please. I have a question.
Good. Please go ahead.
Please, the results, are we likely to get different results depending on where we stop?
Yes, but they will not differ very significantly.
Okay, that's why mine differs a little.
Yeah. They will not differ very significantly because, like I said, it's software, right? But the validity will be the same. The reliability will be the same. What is significant will be significant. What is insignificant will be insignificant, right? Unless you chose a different path of elimination. When we're doing the modification, if you were modifying using different sets of variables, then your outcome may be a bit different from ours.
I think from where we stopped the first time and where you stopped today, the values were a bit different. That's why.
Good. Then that is because based on what we ran last week, right? We had a model that looked a bit different from what we have today.
I think it can also be because I think last week there was a certain item element which had 36 in the model. The modification indices we forgot, so we eliminated another element before coming to eliminate that one.
Good.
So I think that.
Good. Exactly. Right. So depending on the path that you take, like I said, in terms of your modification and pruning, you may arrive at a different outcome. That is why reporting every step of what you did is important, right? So if you are reporting this analysis as part of your thesis, you will tell us which items you deleted and which items you left behind. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Good. So that anyone who wants to replicate what you did can replicate it to a T and make sure to get the exact result you got. So please, have we all learned something important here?
Yes.
Good. That is why you have to be very, very careful when you're eliminating these paths, right? And make sure that you eliminate only one path at a time, so that any elimination you make that causes a problem, you can quickly go back and reverse. But the path that we chose last week still brought us to a good fitting model, only that that model looks significantly different from what we have today. For instance, in today's model, repurchase intention is represented by only 2 items. Can we see that?
Yes.
Yes.
But based on the approach we took last week, right? The CFA model that we ended up with, the repurchase intention item in it is measured by 3 items. Let me quickly show you.
Yes.
Do you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Good. And then the security and privacy, which in today's model is measured by 4 items. In our model from last week, it's measured by only 3 items. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was 3 last week, but this week, because of the path we took, it is now 4. Are you with me?
Yeah, Doc, but please, what will be the effect on this, on the conclusion, since we are having different, a slightly different model? How will it affect the conclusion
It will not,
or the
like
analysis?
I'm saying, it will not be significantly different because none of the constructs themselves got deleted, right? All the constructs are still there. It is the items that measure them that are different. Correct? True or false?
Yes.
Good. And remember we talked about the fact that when you are dealing with reflective models, any item is fit enough to represent the construct. Do you remember?
Yes, please.
So we can delete any of them and it will be okay. Do you get it?
Yes.
Unlike if it was a formative model. Because a formative model, you can't eliminate anybody. But with a reflective model, every item is good enough to be included. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yes.
So it will not significantly affect the relationships because all the constructs are still there. But we could also put it to the test once we are done, assuming we have time to see what will happen. We are researchers after all, so we can put it to the test.
No.
Yeah. But we will have to finish what we have to finish first before we do AOB.
Yes. All right.
Good. So let's work on this one, right? So right now we have completed the the funnel and lacquer test. And like I said, depending on the version of the validity and reliability test plugin that you have, as soon as you click on it, it will just generate the entire table for you, including the correlations and the square roots of the AVEs already pre-calculated. And then if you have a higher version of the validity and reliability test plugin, it will also go ahead and calculate the HTMT for you without any hassle. But if you do not have the updated version that has the HTMT incorporated, you will have to compute the HTMT manually. And that is a bit of a long process. Are you with me?
Yes, madam.
So we are going to learn how to compute the HTMT right now.
Yeah.
In Excel.
Okay.
Good. So to be able to compute the HTMT, we have to go back to SPSS to create composite versions of the constructs that we have, right? So please keep this window open while we go back to SPSS. So we are going to the variable view, right, where it all started when we created the clone. Please, can you see that?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Now we are going to compute composite versions of the constructs that we have in the Amos table. So when we look at the graphical interface of Amos, we can see that the items here are as follows. Security and privacy is represented by SP1, 2, 3, and 6. Can we see that?
Yes.
Good. So when we go to SPSS, we compute the security and privacy variable, the composite variable, using these individual items of SP1, 2, 3, and 6. And this is how we go about it. First, you click transform. Are you there? Hello?
Hello.
We are there.
So transform, right? Then compute variable. Then an interface will open, the compute variable interface. Can you see it?
Yes, Doc.
So we are creating a new variable called security and privacy, which will be a composite of the measurement items we ended up with after we did all our validity tests, right? So the target variable we are creating is what? Security and privacy. So I'll call it security privacy. Can you see that? So in the target variable column, I'm typing the name of the variable that I'm creating. Please, can we see it?
Yes, please.
Good. Now in the numeric expression box, we are going to create an average of the 4 items in Amos that come together to make security and privacy. And these are SP1, SP2, SP3, and SP6. So we come into the numeric expression box and then we click on this bracket over here. When you click on the bracket, a set of brackets appear in the numeric expression box with a cursor blinking in the middle of it. Now this is where we will go to the long rectangular box here that contains the variables, and we will transfer all the items that come together to make up security and privacy into this bracket, starting from SP1. Please, can you see it? So SP1 will go in there. Then we bring a plus sign because we are finding the average. So we will add them all, and then we will divide by the number of individual items. So SP1 plus SP2 plus SP3 plus SP6. Do you see that? Hello?
I don't, we are there.
Skip the rest because they are not part of our construct, like SP4.
Yes, they are not part of what you ended up with after your confirmatory factor analysis, are they?
Okay.
No. Good.
Yeah.
So you only take what you ended up with in the graphical interface. So SP1, SP2, SP3, SP6. Then we bring the cursor out of the bracket. Then we put the divided by sign, right? Which is the backslash. How many individual items do we have in the bracket?
4.
Good. So we divide by what?
4.
To find the average.
4.
Then we click OK. As soon as you do that, it will bring you to the output window. Do you see the output window?
Yes, please.
Then it will write a simple sentence down there to you. It will say compute security privacy equal to the formula that you just entered. Do you see that?
Yes.
Now go back to the variable view in the SPSS window where we can see all the variables and scroll down all the way to the bottom. Under the column name, what do you see has happened?
Security privacy.
A new variable has been created called security privacy, right? Which is a composite of SP1, SP2, SP3, and SP6. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Please, if you don't speak now, when we move forward, I'll not come back.
We are following. We are following, Doc.
Good. So we are going to do the same thing for all the others, right? So after security and privacy, we have order, return, and handling. So we'll go through the same procedure. Transform, compute variable. Then we reset.
Hello, Doc.
Yes.
Yeah, please. The output, has it done the computation for us? So we couldn't see when we did the SP1 to divided by 4. I didn't
when
see
you
the
click
result.
OK and you went to the output window, it showed you the formula, right?
Yes.
It said compute and it showed you the formula. So that means that it has computed it.
Under it, we have execute. I don't know whether you have to click on execute.
No.
On the output window.
What it puts in the output window in terms of compute and showing you the formula and saying execute means that it has been done.
Okay.
So you can verify when you go to the variable view, which we just did, right?
That's fine.
And scroll to the bottom. Do you see? So you see the new variable has been created there, security privacy. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
Awesome.
I've seen it. Okay.
Right? So let's go and do it for the others. So when you open the compute variable window, you will see that what you computed previously is already there. So you go to the bottom and you click reset and it will clean everything up and you can start afresh. So we are doing the next one, which is order return. Order return is made up of OR1, OR2, OR4, and OR5. So I'm going to compute that now. So order return made up of, into brackets, OR1 plus OR2 plus OR4 plus OR5 divided by what?
By 4.
Good. Then we click OK. Then you see the output window will open and it will tell us that it has done compute order return equal to, it gives us the formula and says execute. And as soon as we go to the variable view in the SPSS data window, you can see that the order return variable has been created. Can you see that?
Yes, please.
So now I'm going to do it for all the rest. I'm not going to go back and forth. We've done 2, we have gone back and forth. So I'm going to do it for all the rest, and then we'll continue to compute the HTMG. So the next one is repurchase intention. And that one is made up of RI1, RI2, and RI3. So I'll just do RI2 and RI3 and divide it by 2. And I'm good for that variable. Then I go back and the next variable I'm tackling is timeliness of delivery, which is TD2, TD3, and TD4. So transform, compute variable, reset, timely delivery, made up of, into brackets, TD2 plus TD3 plus TD4, all divided by 3. Are you with me?
Yes.
Then I click OK. Then I do the last one, which is delivery condition. which is DC1, DC2, DC3, and DC5. So transform, compute variable, reset, delivery condition, then into brackets, DC, kindly mention DC1, DC2, DC3, and then DC5. Then you divide by 4 and you click OK. Then you're good. So all the new variables have been computed, as you can see. Please, can you see them?
Yes.
I've highlighted them now. Can you see them?
Yes. Yes.
Good.
Yes,
So we have
please.
security and privacy, order return, repurchase intention, timely delivery, and then delivery condition. Okay. So this is going to help us in testing our direct hypothesis in a moment. But now we are going to test HTMT, right? And to be able to test HTMT in Excel, you can only do it 2 variables at a time. And we have 5 variables, right? So we have to make sure that we match the correlations between each of these variables to be able to generate the HTMT value. So we are going to match security and privacy to order return, security and privacy to repurchase intention, security and privacy to timeliness of delivery, and then security and privacy to delivery condition. Are you with me?
Mm.
That's just the first set. Now, after you do the first set, you realize that it gives you the correlations between a number of the variables, right? So in your next round, you will pick one that has not been correlated with any variable yet. So we leave out security and privacy, and we do for all the rest. Now, this is a tedious and long process, and that is what we have the plugins for. So I will do just one, right? And then we'll do the rest with the plugins. Is that okay?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes,
Yes,
Doc.
please.
Good.
Yes.
So I'm going to do just one so that those who want to be able to do it on their own can be able to do it in the event that you do not have the plugins. So to be able to do this, I'm going to run correlations between security and privacy and order return. Now, in doing this, I am going to use the individual items that come together to make up those variables, right? So for security and privacy, we have SP1236. Then repurchase intention, RI2 and 3. Let's use repurchase intention, given that it has fewer items. So RI2 and 3, and then SP1, 2, 3, and 6. So I go into Excel, right? And I get the correlation between these items. So analyze, correlate, then bivariate, right? And I'm doing the correlations between SP1, SP2, SP3, and then SP6. And I'm correlating them with RI2 and RI3. So what are my options? I don't need any options from here. What style? I don't need any style. I'm not bootstrapping. I just need the Pearson correlation, right? And the test of significance here will be two-tailed. So I click OK. And then it presents me with this correlation table. Please, can we see that?
No.
Can we see the correlation table now?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Good. So now it has given me the correlation between these individual variables, right? So I'm going to copy this entire thing and I'm going to paste it in Excel. So I've copied. I'm going to Excel now. A fresh Excel sheet. Please don't use the spreadsheet that contains the formulae for computing the AVEs, the validities, and the other stuff. Please close it and open a fresh Excel sheet, right? So I'm pasting the whole correlation table here in the Excel spreadsheet like this. Please, do we see it?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate some columns that I do not need, like this one. So when I delete it, it leaves these tables, right? Wait, let me undo. First, I have to delete the rows that I do not need, being the significance and then the n, right? So I'll delete them one after the other. Delete row. Like I said, this is a long process, right? But it is something you need to know in case your plugin fails you and the deadline for submitting your work is up. So I'm basically deleting the significant two-tailed row and then the n row. Please, do we see what has happened?
Yes, Doc.
So I'm left with this column that says Pearson C, which has to go. And then I will delete all the upper part, right? Because it's just a mirror of this part. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. So I'm just going to delete all that. Okay. Please, do we see what has just happened?
Yeah.
Good.
Yes,
So
Doc.
now I'm left with the correlations. Can we see that?
Yes, please.
Good. Now, when it comes to hetero-trait, mono-trait correlation, it's about finding the averages of the hetero-traits and then the mono-traits, and then dividing the square root of the product of the mono-traits, right? By dividing the average of the hetero-trait by the square root of the product of the average mono-traits, right? So it will make sense very soon. So I'm going to create new cells here and name them A, capital A for the hetero-trait, B for the mono-trait, and C for the mono-trait, right? And then here I'll write HTMT. So the A portion here represents the hetero-trait portion, being the correlations between the SP items and the RI items. So this portion here, can we see that?
Yes.
Represents the correlations between the SP and the RI items, true or false? True or false?
True.
Hey, true or false?
True.
True.
It's true. Because it's showing the correlations between RI2 and SP1, RI2 and SP2, RI2 and SP3. So that is the hetero trait correlation. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. So this A here represents the average of all this, which is the hetero trait correlations. So here we will put equal to, right? Average into brackets all this. Do you see? Bracket closed and then enter. Sorry, a moment. What is wrong with my Excel today?
I think it's because of the stars and the numbers.
Thank you. I totally didn't notice. At least it shows me that you're paying attention. So I'm glad for that. Okay, so now we've cleared the stars. So I believe it will work now. So equal to the average, right? The average of the heterotrait correlations. Oh, sorry, I started from the wrong box. So over here, I hope that's the correct figure. Let me just hit it again. Average of all this, right? Yeah, 0.4905. Please, do we see that?
Yes, please.
So that's the average of the heterotrait. Then we are going to do B, which is this portion, right? The monotrait. So monotrait represents a single set of correlations between the items themselves that belong to one construct. Are you there?
Yes, please.
Good. So we are picking the mono from here. So this will be the average of what we just saw, the monotraits for the security and privacy items. So equal to the average of these. Right? Then the C will be the average of the monotraits between the repurchase intention items. Do we see that? In this case, we will have only one item. Do you see that?
Yes.
So equal to the average of this one item. So we have the monotraits and the heterotraits. So this is the heterotraits, right? The average heterotraits, the average monotraits, and the average monotraits. Now the HTMT, right, is this value, right? So equal to this value. Are you with me? Divided by, into brackets, this value, multiplied by this value, right? And we find the square root of all that is in the bracket. So that will be to the power 0.5. Are you with me?
Yes.
Let me click enter. So this will be the HTMT value between security and privacy and repurchase intention. Now, to be able to arrive by all the HTMT values, right, we have to do it individually like this for each pair of items. So for every pair of constructs that we have to take all the items that represent them, do their correlations, and then compute the HTMT one after the other, right? So we do all that to be able to arrive at this particular table. Do you see? So our table, when we finish, will look something like this because we will be computing for a total of 5 individual constructs, which is a lot of work if you didn't have a plugin. Are you with me? Hello?
Yes, please.
Which is a lot of work if you didn't have a plugin, right? So now let's go and use the plugin to get this done because it seems you people don't like the manual way of doing things. Yes, it's very tiring, Theodora, but imagine you didn't have plugins. Before plugins were invented, we were doing this thing manually.
Oh, yeah.
So here we have our interface, right? And with the plugin, like I said, depending on the version that you have, you do not have to struggle to go and do all this. With one click of a plugin, it will compute both the AVE and the CR values for you, run the funnel and lacquer, give you the table, run the HTMT and give you the table. All you have to do is to just copy and paste in your work and be on your way. So let's do that right now. Let's compute HTMT using plugins. Won't that be fun? So those who have the plugins, Clement, you say you don't know which version you have. You will only know the version you have after you run the analysis, right? After you run the analysis and then you see the output. So if you run the analysis and the output comes and it doesn't have HTMT, then you know it's not the updated one. Does it make sense?
Yes, though.
Good. So test out all the ones that you have. The one that produces the HTMT table is the one that you should keep. Okay, so the plugins people, are you ready?
I'm about ready.
So we
Yes, we are.
So we go to plugins, right? And then you look out for validity and reliability tests. Do we see that?
Yeah.
Then you click on it. When you click on it, it will take some time to run, like a few seconds. And then it will open the window for you. And as you can see, like I told you, it has done everything for you. It has built the validity table for using the funnel and lacquer criterion. That's the CR and AVE values. It has given you the square root of the AVEs on the diagonal. And it has given you the interconstruct correlations. And it has also built the HTMT table for you. Do you see that?
No, please, we can't see it. Please.
Oh, sorry. I have so many windows open that I forget that you can't see some of them. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Great. So it has built it all for you. Can you see? It has built the funnel and lacquer table. The square roots of the AVEs are on the diagonal. The interconstruct correlations and their significance are off diagonal. The CR and AVEs are there. It has also built the HTMT analysis table for you. Can you see that?
Yes.
I remember the manual thing that we did that we suffered so much between security and privacy and repurchase intention that we got 0.5888 something. Do you remember?
Yes.
Do you see that figure here? Do you see it here?
Yes.
Do you see it here? This is the figure we had when we computed in Excel. Do you see?
Yes.
Good. So we would have manually done all these one after the other. So you will arrive at the same result. Only this one takes like a fraction of a second. Edward, your hand is up.
Yeah, so if you don't have the plugin for that, can we get that also at Start Wiki?
Yes, it's a Start Wiki.
All right.
Where the plugins are. Yeah. So if there were no plugins, ladies and gentlemen, life would have been.
Doug, please, question.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was doing my analysis during my MPhil, we did, I don't know if that's the Start Wiki, but to test for validity and reliability, I had to use an Excel sheet.
We used the Excel sheet earlier. Where were you?
Okay.
Yeah, where were you? You were ghosting. Hey!
Doug, I was distracted a little.
You were ghosting. Yeah, we used the Excel spreadsheet to do it manually. Ladies and gentlemen, didn't we?
We did.
Yes, we went manual before we came to see, so that we can learn and appreciate the value of plugins. And then to be able to know that if there's no plugin, life has not ended. There are always options. Because I've seen people who have changed their laptops. They have lost the original versions they had, and they have had to install new versions where they did not have access to plugins, and they have to find a way to get things done. So you have to learn the manual way before you go to the plugins, so that you don't become a lazy researcher. Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, Doug, I think it's fine.
They are okay now.
Yes, but you said you gave us you gave us an Excel sheet that has the validity master.
That's the one we used.
Hey.
What's A? Yeah,
I've been ghosting for a very long time.
Thank you very much. It's been ghosting for too long. If anybody should be ghosting in this class, yeah, it shouldn't be you. Because you know I know where to find you.
Yes, please.
So you shouldn't be ghosting at all.
No, I was following, but
You see, oh, then they'll come and say we should go back. You see what they've been doing? See what they've been doing? God has seen you all. God has seen them. Okay, so very quickly, now that we have satisfied all the validity issues and stuff, right now we are way ahead. So we can comfortably test for hypothesis, can't we?
Yes.
So let's go ahead and test for hypothesis, and then we can call it a day. So let's go to our interface where we have our CFA model, right over here. Can you see that?
Yes, please.
Good. Now, when you go there, we need to update our SPSS file, because remember we have created composite versions of our variables, right? Do you remember?
Yes.
Good. So we go to our SPSS spreadsheet and then we click save so that it will save the new variables we have created. Have you done that? Have you done that? Hello?
We are following.
So you saved the SPSS file.
Yes.
Good. Then we go back to Amos, and then we need to re-import that SPSS file into Amos. So we go to the interface where we had our CFA model. Then we go to the Select Data Files tab. We go to group number where we already have the clone there. Then we go and double click again. And we go back and we reselect the clone because we've made some updates to it. So we want those updates to reflect. So we'll go and reselect the clone and click open. It will update the version that it has, and then we'll click OK. Have you done that?
No, let's do that again.
Yeah.
So what I said was that we have computed new variables into our SPSS file. So we have to go to SPSS and save the file so that the changes will reflect. Then we come back into Amos and we re-import the SPSS file so that the changes that have been implemented in the file can reflect in Amos as well, so that we can use it to test our hypotheses. So we come into Amos, and then where we selected the data file, do you see the Lotto paper?
Yes.
Good. We click on it again. Then where we have the name of the data sets we are using, do you see online shopping research intention clone? Do you see that?
Yes, Lord.
We double click on it to go and reselect the same data file so that the changes that we have implemented will reflect. Then we click open. As soon as we do that, we click OK. And then now the data file is in Amos. So we can go ahead and start testing for hypotheses. Now, how do we go about this? We open a new spreadsheet. So we go to File and click New. And it will ask us, do we want to save the changes we have made to this diagram? I would click No.
Please, why did we do the composite variable? Why did we create them and add it to the original?
We did that so that we can be able to create a new data file.
Okay.
That will help us to be able to test for hypotheses. Are you there?
Yes. Good. So, but Doc, couldn't we have tested the hypothesis with our original after going through the hustle to get the model well fit?
Yeah, you could have. No, it's the same thing. It's the same model, right? You could have used the interface as is.
Okay.
But you have already learned how to build that one. So I'm teaching you how to use the composites as well. But you can test for hypothesis using that same model. Okay, let's test the hypothesis using that same model. Let's go back.
So, Doc, I want to know what additional value does the composite bring to the testing? Maybe it has some benefits. That's what
it makes the interface cleaner. It makes the interface cleaner. Are you with me?
Yes.
Good. Because if you use these ones, you have to keep covering the independent variables. And when you co-vary and you have all these unobserved variables as well, in addition to the observed and all the arrows for the relationships, it becomes messy. So it's more of an aesthetic thing, right?
Okay,
Good.
well understood.
Good. But since you like that particular diagram so much, let's go back and use that to test for the hypothesis.
Yes, madam.
Okay, so do you see that now?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Now I'm going to change the interface to a landscape format so that I can be able to spread my model out from independent to dependent variables. So we go to view, interface properties, and then we do what? Landscape A4.
A4.
Good. So as soon as I do that, it turns it into an A4 landscape format. Now, to be able to move things around, I have to delete the covariances, right? So I'm going to delete the covariances one after the other, like that. Please, do we see that?
Yeah.
Now, in this case, which one is our dependent variable and which one is our independent variable? Repurchase intention is our dependent, right?
Yes.
Good. So we're going to move it to the dependent variable position by using the tools like I taught you. Please, do we see that?
Yes.
Good. Then we are going to move the others into position. Like that. Do we see that?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So now what we are going to do is we are going to draw the covariances for the independent variables. Are you there? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So for this one, we are going to use a plugin, right? So we select the pointy finger and we click on all the independent variables. Then we go to plugins and we say what? Draw covariances. And it will quickly do that very beautifully for us. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Have you seen it has started getting messy? You see?
Yes.
Arrows are crossing each other. Good. Then we are going to indicate the hypothesized relationships using single-headed arrows, right? So we hypothesized that security and privacy will affect repurchase intention, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Then we said order return will affect repurchase intention. Timeliness of delivery will affect repurchase intention. Delivery condition will affect repurchase intention, isn't it?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Then we do some beautification very neatly. Then we indicate which variable is the dependent variable, right? So we use this particular tab with the yellow circle on top of the rectangle. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And it says what? Add a unique variable to an existing variable. So you click on it and you come and click on your dependent variable and it will create an error term over it. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So that is accounting for the amount of error in the prediction of repurchase intention using these independent variables. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does.
So now we have to manually name this, right? But alternatively, you can use a plugin. So if you are doing it manually, you have to see the last number in the set here and then use the number after that to name this particular shape. So here it would have been E25, right? Because E24 is the last number.
Yes, sir.
Good. But alternatively, you can just use a plugin and say plugins name unobserved variables, and it will quickly name it. And you see it's named it E25, didn't it?
Yes.
Good. So we could have either done it manually or using plugins. So like I said, don't be a lazy researcher. Know how to do it both ways. So now we have named them, right? But we have not registered it into Amos's memory. So we have to save this and then close it and reopen so that Amos can register it into its memory and begin to work on it for us. So we go to File, Save As, right? And I will name this Path Analysis.
Wow.
Please, are you with me?
Yes, madam.
So path analysis, then I save, right? Then I close it. Then I go back and I go and reopen it. So I'm reopening it. I think it is supposed to have opened by now. I don't know what is going on. I have a lot of windows open, so I can't really see. Okay, it's opening now. All right. Why can't I still see it?
We can't see it either.
Yeah, it's like I have so many tabs open, I can't really locate certain items. Please hold on, let me close some of them. Okay, I should be able to see it now. Great, I see it now. Can you see it?
Yes.
All right. So we have reopened. So now we are going to run and test for the direct relationships. So we go to the piano keys with the different colored boxes on it once again, and we go to output. This time we don't need all these, right? All we need are the standardized estimates, the squared multiple correlations. We don't need modification indices. We don't need factor score weights, right? We do not need correlations, but we can just leave them there for whatever reason, right? So we've checked standardized estimates, squared multiple correlations, covariances, and correlations, right? Then we close it, then we click the plain piano keys, then we run. And just like that, we have run our SEM analysis and we have tested for hypotheses. Right? So to be able to get the actual paths and see whether they are significant or not, you go to view text, which will give us the output window. And in the output window, we can be able to see under estimates the relationships between the various variables and repurchase intention. Can we see that?
Yes.
Good. So here, based on the p-values, which relationships are significant and which ones are not?
Order return and repurchase intention.
Good. So order return is significant, isn't it?
Condition and repurchase. Yes.
So order return policies has a significant effect on repurchase intention. No surprise there. Delivery condition has a significant effect on repurchase intention, right? No surprise there. But timeliness of delivery has no effect on repurchase intention. That's interesting.
Yeah. It has at 10%.
Yeah, but 10% is a bit of a stretch, especially if you do not have strong theoretical backing.
Okay.
So for me, without strong theoretical backing, I like to cap it at 5%. But if it is like this and the theory backing it is very, very strong, I'll go with a 10%. Please, I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
And then security and privacy is completely insignificant. How? So who are these people who were answering this survey? And why is security and privacy not important to them? So this is where you can follow up with some open-ended questions or with a qualitative interview to find out why security and privacy is not important to these people. Right? So with that, we have just conducted SEM. Theodora, 10% is accepted where you have strong theoretical backing. And then you have to use literature to justify the 10% threshold and the theoretical justification for using it. So you can't just get up and say you're using a 10% threshold. You have to have strong theoretical justification for it, right? and provide another publications. What is theory? Please, which theory? Hey! Are you saying qualitative? Theodora, I'll pretend I didn't see this questioning. I'll just close my eyes.
No, I'm asking
it's not a specific theory she's talking about. She's the theory underlining your work.
Yes, I'm asking exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid of this one there. This is PhD class. Oh, hey. In fact, okay, I'll just close my eyes. I didn't see it. It never happened. It was never typed in the chat section. I never saw. Okay. So, please, I hope we understand it now.
Yes. Doug, let's go over this once more. The results.
It's fast time.
Okay. So the results is what I'm talking about, that we are using the p-values to determine which relationships are significant and which ones are not. And based on the p-value system, we are using the 5% significance, 1% and 0.1%, right? So delivery condition has a significant effect on repurchase intention at a 0.1% significance, which is indicated by the 3 stars. Timeliness of delivery has no effect on repurchase intention because the p-value is greater than the 5% that we are capping it at, which is 0.05. Then order return policy has a significant effect on repurchase intention at a 1% significance, because 0.002, right, is less than 1%, which is 0.01. Then security and privacy has no significant effect on repurchase intention, right? Because the p-value far exceeds our threshold of 5% or 0.05. So please, does it make sense now?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so you see, if your thesis was just about direct relationships, with this lesson that we have had, you can go ahead and test all your direct relationships and conclude nicely. So on that note, does anyone have anything they want to ask? Or we are all okay?
Doug.
Edward,
we need to watch the video over and over again. So
yes.
For now it's fun.
Good. So please go and practice. So next week when we come, we can handle the mediation analysis.
Doug.
Yes.
So if you decide to, if you have to do open-ended questions or do interviews, does it mean you are veering into mixed methods?
When did you conduct the open-ended question? If the open-ended question was part of your survey, right? Okay. It is not necessarily mixed methods.
But I mean, some mixed methods have a post.
Good. So if you do a qualitative as a post study, right? After you have obtained a set of output and you need to use the qualitative to justify or to explain further, then you are doing mixed methods. Or you use the qualitative to address a specific set of research questions and the quantitative to address another set of research questions. They are doing mixed methods.
Okay.
But you can't just throw in 1 or 2 open-ended questions into your quantitative survey and say you are doing mixed methods. Okay. Doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Good.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Eric, you said, could we say that the security is a hygiene factor and it's a given factor in online purchases? Perhaps, but we will have to conclude based on the nature of the sample that we have. Because if the sample that we have is a sample that is very technologically savvy, then we could say that they think security is a hygiene factor because they are technologically savvy to the level that they see security to be a given when it comes to the online context. And this could be the case because the sample that we use for this particular study are more of millennials and Gen Z, who are the tech-savvy generation, who know IT. They were born, they live with IT, and they use IT almost every day to perform various transactions. So for them, security and privacy could be a given and be a hygiene factor. So yes, in this case, using the sample that we have, that could be the reason that security and privacy did not have a significant effect on their repurchase intention. But in the event that we were using an older generational group, like say baby boomers, right, or the silent generation, this would be an issue because they don't know much about how the online platforms operate and whether or not security and privacy is even a given. And you realize that those ones are the ones that often get scammed when it comes to all the use of all these online platforms to perform various activities. Tech savvy or the platform shop often. I think it's about the tech savviness, because if the person is not tech savvy, they may be using a platform for a long time and they may not even understand the back end activities in the platform that help to deal with issues of security and privacy and information protection and all that, right? So they may be using the platform often, but they may be using it to perform a particular set of activities that does not make them privy to issues of security and privacy. For instance, recently I was teaching a class and I was asking them about how an online platform, right, can be able to convince its users that it is secure and will protect their information. They had no idea, right? They had no idea, but the most basic form is using the SSL lock. Who knows about the SSL lock? Okay, who has gone to a website and seen that small padlock at the start of the URL? Has anyone visited a website and noticed that thing before?
Yes, I have.
Many times.
Okay, so you know what it means?
Yeah, secure server lock.
Good, right? But not everybody knows that. A lot of people have been using the specific websites for transactions for a long time, and you ask them what it is, and they have not even noticed it. So, Eric, I think some level of tech savviness is needed for you to be able to understand what to even look out for, to be able to tell if this particular platform is secure or not. But then again, that's the beauty of research, because there are a lot of competing explanations. But the idea is you move forward with the one that can be backed by theory, right? And the one that your data is pointing significantly towards. So in this case, I will go with the tech savvy argument. You're welcome, Eric. Okay, so Theodora, you said you meant which theoretical background is strong enough to accept at 10%. Are there any grounded justifications, for instance, if the phenomenon being examined is new? Theodora, we can only determine if the phenomenon is new based on the literature review that you have done. We can only determine the amount of theory backing what you are saying based on the literature review that you have done and the direction in which you are taking your research. So a particular study can be conducted in so many ways, using so many different variables and so many theoretical backings that perhaps what you are doing, using the constructs that you are using and the theory that you are using, at 10% will not be justified. But another person will be doing the same thing using a stronger theory backing in which that relationship, which is significant at that 10%, is strongly justified. So it is all determined based on the premise of your work and the angle at which you are approaching the research from. That's why paying attention and understanding your research methods is very, very important, because if you do not have that theory aspect down, you will know how to use the software, but you will always be experiencing the giggle effect. Please, have I mentioned the giggle effect in this class before?
No, please.
So the giggle effect is the GIGO effect.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in, garbage out. Because your theoretical underpinning is just weak. You are putting variables together and they are giving you results. So you are reporting them. And when you publish for some time, you realize that the journals will always pick up on your theory. So even if you exhibit a lot of dexterity with using the software, if the theoretical backing is weak, they will always kick down the paper. Because the analysis is fine and all that, but what is it contributing to theory? What are you adding? Okay, Theodora, I'm glad you get it now. So please, as a good researcher, right, by the time you finish the PhD and you finish doing your research, you must be down with your quanti, down with your quali, down with your theory, so that when you speak, you don't sound porous, right? You have to be a well-balanced PhD holder who can stand anywhere and defend their research, right, with a strong understanding, a theoretical understanding for that matter. At least I hope that makes sense. All right. So can we call it a day? Or there are still more questions?
No, madam.
Awesome. Please go and practice. I'll do my best to get you.
You need to watch the video again and again.
Yeah. And please, after the lectures end, if you go and sit down and you don't practice, you will forget to. That's another thing I want you to take cognizance of. If you don't go and practice, you will forget. So it's not just about practicing for a while and then stopping.
And Doc, please,
yes.
I also think that we would need more time to be able to assimilate some of these things. But the semester is very short. The semester is very short.
I agree.
So wouldn't there be any considerations for we the first timers who are now coming to know about these things as opposed to the finance people?
The finance people are expected to use it on a different level. A finance person may even end up not using this kind of software because of the kind of data they usually work with. You find finance people usually playing around with panel data. So you rarely see them collecting primary data like what we have collected that we are using for this kind of analysis, right? So as a first timer, your understanding and its application will be reflected in your own research that you will conduct, right? And how you go about it. So it is up to you to keep practicing and then get assistance, right? So if you get to the point where you're conducting your research or you're doing some analysis and you don't understand something or you've forgotten how to get something or conceptualize something, and you reach out to someone like me and you say, Doc, I've forgotten this. How do I go about this? There's no harm in that. Are you with me?
Yes, Doc.
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
one problem I have with PhD students is that, I'm not saying all of you are like that, but they get to some point and they feel too big to ask for help. I'm always fighting with the PhD students in my department because they disappear. You don't see them. And then when it's time for seminar or something, then they come and then they start telling you stories. And then they come and present, and the things they are presenting, you ask yourself, so why have you been hiding if you needed help? Are you with me? So for me, I believe in asking for help early so that you know what you're about and then you don't wait until it's too late. Because good work will always be good work regardless of where you take it to. And it doesn't change anything if you ask for help. If anything, it just makes what you're doing better. And that way, by the time you finish, you are sure that the work that you have done stands the test of the scientific process. Let me put it that way, right? So please, nothing stops you from asking for help. And I don't expect all of you to get it immediately right now. But it will make sense once you start using it to do your own research. So I'm encouraging all of you to try and put it into practice. At least try your hands at gathering some data and performing some analysis. After this, after the final session we have, I will give you a data set. And you will have to run the full analysis that we have done from CFA measurement model to validity, HTMT, hypothesis testing, and you run a mediation analysis, right? To be able to test your skills. So use that also as an opportunity to brush up on what we have learned. And I'm sure that will help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is well. Yeah, it is well.
Yes.
Yeah, just take it one day at a time.
Yes.
Everything will be fine. Okay, so on that note, I wish you all a blessed week, and please enjoy the rest of your evening. God be with you all.
All right.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Amen. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.